Hello and welcome to another episode of the Developers Workshop podcast. It's always a pleasure to be able to bring you all of these events in the hope that we can provide you with some useful information in the games industry that can assist you with your own development processes. Joining us today, we have Danny Hayes from Delve Interactive.
Hi there. I'm Danny Hayes, best known as one of the creators of Pancho, a recently released game on Steam and PS4.
Indeed. We also have Marc McCann from FarSpace Studios.
Hello there, I'm Marc McCann, I'm one of the developers for FarSpace Studios, and we're best known for developing Hyphen, which is currently on Steam.
Awesome. We also have James Coote from Crystalline Green Limited.
Hi everyone, I'm James Coote. I'm an indie developer, and yeah, I've got a game that's just come out on the Wii U.
Excellent. And as always, Jay Adeloye from Drop Dead Interactive.
Hey guys, you know me by now, creator of Giggle and Drop Dead Interactive. Nice to see you again.
And my co-hosts for today will be the usual suspects. We have Mr. Eric Jackson.
Hello everyone, how's everybody doing?
And we do have Worrywart, however he's not here right now. He will be joining us shortly. So to get the ball rolling, let's go around the table and hear a bit from each of you on what your experience in the game industry is and the project that you're currently working on. Jay, would you like to get us started?
Yeah, so as you all know, I'm currently working on Gear Gauntlet. That is coming first to the Xbox One. I recently announced that it's also coming to the Wii U, actually being ported by the guy. And we're also on an attempt to get the game onto Steam by Greenlight, which is actually going on right now. So you can go to the Greenlight page, we'll give you a link later, and you can actually grab a demo of the game and yeah, and play it and rage away with it. So yeah.
Awesome. How about we move over to you, Marc?
Yeah, basically, development experience. About 3 years ago, me and my friend Rob started a company, FarSpace Studios, developing Hyphen. It was a bit rock and roll, really, because a few things changed in life, and the development took a bit longer than expected. But currently working on porting it to other platforms. We've got a couple of other ideas in the works at the minute as well, which I'm not at liberty to talk about, but they are coming along quite nicely. But we've currently got Hyphens on PC, on Steam, and Linux, and we're looking at porting it to the Xbox One as part of the developer program, and possibly the PS4 as well in the coming months.
Fantastic. Danny, would you like to tell us a bit about your experience?
Yeah, so I've been full-time indie for like the last year and a half, but before that I was a programmer at Capcom working on their mobile games. I've been developing Pancho for 3.5 years. It got released 2 weeks ago, November 3rd, for Steam and PS4. Currently working on the Wii U and PS Vita versions for that. Also, soon to come to Kickstarter, and started working on a game called Change, which is a homeless survival simulator.
Fantastic. And last but not least, James.
Hi, yeah, so I've been an indie developer for 4.5 years now. I pretty much came straight out of university and just kind of dived off in at the deep end. To date I've just released my second game, which is called Totem, and that's out on the Wii U and PC. And then I've also got a couple of other games on the go as well, which again will be coming to Wii U and maybe other platforms as well, depending on how things go.
Awesome. So between a lot of you, that's a lot of games that I'm going to have to play. All right, so to start off the question-based segment of this workshop, we actually have a question that's being submitted by Sean O'Connor, who is aspiring to be an indie developer. Now, Sean and a group of his friends are looking to start developing an indie game. They have the skills to make the game but are unsure of how to get started. Where would you recommend that they go for advice about the best way to get started, or do you have some advice of your own that could help them get up and running?
I think if you're just looking for somewhere to get general advice, like a good website to go to is TigSource. Like there's a lot of that's basically an indie developer site, so you can get a lot of advice on there. My own advice is just to keep making games whenever you can. Like if you're just trying to come up with a concept or something like that, game jams like Lud and Dare are quite good for sort of flexing the creative muscles a little bit. That's actually how Change got started, my second game. But yeah, sometimes ideas can just strike you out of nowhere. But in terms of actually getting a game out, it's just a matter of making one and getting the work done, really.
Yeah, so sort of just get in there, have a go, put some stuff down on paper, have a brainstorming session or two, and go from there, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sorry if I'm cutting in. Yeah, I mean, with Giggle, which started a long time ago, being called Dot Dash, it literally was for me a case of I wanted to make something really simple that I knew was realistic. Because I didn't have an artist. It literally was sort of me and a friend, you know, starting out, and we you know, we could program, but we just didn't have, you know, a means to make it look pretty and stuff. So that is essentially why the main character is it was just a circle at first, and then became a cog. But basically, I wanted to make a game which I thought, you know, would never be made. Which is always good for, you know, making something very unique, and also it was an attempt to make a game that I wanted to play. You know, because although we get these games that we like and stuff like that, you know, being the AAAs and even other indies and things like that, sometimes it's hard to get a game that you maybe, you know, have had a dream about and stuff like that, and you really want. So for me, it was literally a case of, you know, just trying to make a game that I wanted to play, and then luckily other people wanted to play that game as well, and, you know, that sort of got the ball rolling. So, you know, if you're sort of stuck for ideas, then just sort of have a think and say, what do you want to play, and possibly just start there, really. That's my advice.
It's kind of the same for Hyphen, if I can understand. I mean, that's why the character's a straight line, because I'm not very good at graphics. We started as simple as possible, and we just built it up. It got more advanced as we went along. I've been a bit hesitant to mention it, but there's quite a lot of groups on Facebook as well. Now, there's varying levels of how useful them groups are. There's a few of them that you basically want to slit your wrist after you've been in them, but there's a few. You know, there's some really useful people on Facebook. You've just got to know how to filter, because there seems to be a lot of people who tell you what you can't do, as opposed to encouraging you, you know, to go ahead and just do it.
Exactly. No,
So
I
we've
agree
all
with that.
experienced that, yeah. There's so many people who've had little failures, and, you know, they seem to think that's going to be the same across the board for everybody, and unfortunately they seem to be the people that shout the loudest from the rooftops. So I think one of the main pieces of advice basically is believe in yourself, because if you don't try, you'll never get.
Yeah, exactly. And if you don't believe in yourself and others are straight away putting you down, then that's, you know, going to kill you off right there. So, you know, you at least have to, you know, think to yourself that you can do it, and just start off small. You don't need to be making the next, you know, Fez or Minecraft or anything like that. Just, you know, just try something just to get titles out there, because one of the hardest things for most game developers is actually finishing a title. You know,
Yeah,
like
you've got
the
to be
last,
prepared to
you
be in
know,
it for the long
sentence
haul,
is
haven't
the
you?
hardest. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it took
Because
me,
as most. So go on.
Oh, right. It took me 3.5 years to make Pancho.
Yeah.
It's kind of on a similar scale to Fez, though. There's 3 of us in our team, though.
Yeah,
It just
well,
proves the point, though, doesn't it? That it's not a 5-minute process. You've got to be in it for the long haul, because I think a lot of people have the ideas for a quick one-shot game, and it takes a hell of a lot longer to develop than they have envisioned. And you see a lot of people dropping off with boredom. So you've got to know from the beginning that, you know, it could actually take a hell of a lot longer than you've got planned, basically.
Yeah, I had an interesting experience with this. So the first game I ever worked on, I worked on it for 18 months, and then at the end of that 18 months, I realised it's going to take another 18 months to finish, and so I actually dropped it. I said, okay, you know, I still want to make this game one day, but I just don't have the the resource to be able to do it at the moment. So I said, okay, I'll work on other projects. I'll improve my skills and yeah, get better at project management, at actually being able to finish the game, and then yeah, I can go back to it later. I think as well, it is important though to not give up. I think it would be very easy to at the end of that project to say, well, it hasn't worked out, and I've wasted all this time, and I'm just going to pack it all in, and I didn't, and that's kind of why I'm still here today, still making games and getting better and better, because there will be difficult times, but you gotta get through them. So
I think you raised an interesting point there. I think you've got to know your limitations as well, which is, I mean, I've done programming for years and years, and still there's things I'm learning every day. It's you've got to know what you are capable of and what you're not, and cut your cloth to fit, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's a lot of really good advice that you guys have given there. I'm sure that Sean is very appreciative of that. He's actually tuned in right now, so thank you very much for submitting such a good question, Sean. And if there's anything down the track that you think you would like to ask these guys, again, please just click through the questions to me and I'll forward them on. I'm sure these gentlemen wouldn't mind answering your questions for you.
I only charge £10 per answer. It's quite cheap, really.
Oh dear. Okay, moving right along. So Danny, one of the common comments that I hear when people see your game Pancho for the first time is that it looks like Fez. Now, obviously, once they start playing it, they can see that the game's mechanics and the objectives are completely different. But how do you feel about Pancho being compared to Fez?
I'd take it as a compliment, really. Like, I think it's mainly because it's a pixel art puzzle platformer. And I don't know, it kind of, like, I've seen comments also just like on PS4 forums and stuff like, oh, so this is just like Terraria, like just because it's pixel art, and people assume that kind of game is.
Oh, you've got a bit of static there. You're not actually coming through at the moment, Danny.
Oh, can you hear me now?
No. Like we can, but there's a lot of static. Oh, you've cleared up. There you go.
Oh, yep. Okay. Yeah, so I was just saying that I take being compared to Fez as more of a compliment. Am I still okay?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so I think people make the comparison mainly because it's a pixel art puzzle platformer. I mean, I think it's strange because it's like I also saw someone post on, like, people leave comments on all the things we post, and like someone commented once like, oh, this is just like Terraria then, like, and it's kind of like it's a totally different game, but people see a particular art style, and pixel art gets this worse than any other style. Like, no one goes, oh, this is another low poly game, or another, like, there's a lot of pixel art games, but there's also a lot of games that use other styles as well, like, if not more, but people don't seem to get tired of those.
I think actually what will probably happen is in a couple of years' time, or in a year's time, people are like, oh, that's just another low poly game. These things kind of go in and out of fashion, and okay, it's nice to have a game that's sort of in fashion right now, or an art style that's in fashion right now, but really you got to be making it something that you're really passionate and excited about it, rather than just kind of trying to follow the trend, or think, oh well, that's sort of yesterday's art style, so I'm not going to bother with it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Do you guys find that sometimes it's like something of a roadblock going with a particular art style? Do you think people kind of disregard the game itself just based on the look of it?
Yeah, some people. But the thing is, not everyone's got. There are people out there who are going to hate your game, and there's people out there who are going to love your game. Like, you can't please everyone. You have to choose an art style. I mean, I guess if you went for like, AAA 3D realistic graphics, like, that's probably the most everyone pleasing art style, but like, we can't really do that, so we choose abstracted art styles, and pixel art is an abstracted art style that allows us to convey what we want in the game quite easily. I mean, we were lucky to get one of the best pixel artists on the market as well. He also worked on, it's Matthew Weeks, he also worked on Freedom Planet. So you can kind of see, like, in Pancho and Freedom Planet, the obvious Sonic inspiration and kind of things like that. It's mainly kind of Mega Drive graphics sort of brought into this century. But yeah, I mean, it does get compared, I think, mainly because of the pixel art. Also, the fact that it's called Poncho, and it's an item of clothing. Even though like the poncho has nothing to do with the mechanic, it doesn't give him the power or anything like that. He just wears one. So yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, it's a total coincidence as well because the game's more inspired by like old school Sega games and recently games like Braid. But yeah, I don't mind being compared to Fez. Oh, fun fact, like Renaud Baydar, who did the coding for Fez, like he tweeted me once saying he likes the game, which is weird. It was quite validating to hear him say that. I thought like somewhere in the darkness, like Phil Fish might be raging because the games, like he might think they're similar, like a lot of other people do, but it seems to have not happened.
Yeah, I was actually in one of the Facebook forums, and someone was you must have posted about Poncho, and someone said, "Oh, this is just like Fez. You basically just ripped off the mechanic, and you've even called it Poncho after because he wears a poncho." And then I must have said to someone, the game's nothing like Fez. It's got a totally different mechanic. And personally, I prefer it to Fez because I didn't really get into Fez. Whereas this game, I actually liked, when I did the live stream and stuff. So then someone came back and was like, "Oh, actually, you didn't rip off Fez. You ripped off Mutant Mods because you change on the Z-axis and stuff." And then someone was like, "Wait a minute! If he ripped off Mutant Mods, then Mutant Mods ripped off Paper Mario." And it was just like, so you can keep going on and on and on and say, this person ripped off this and this. Mechanics are borrowed. One of them borrowed, just they're used in such different ways from different games. And games are just so different, but people are just looking at it as, oh, it's got that one mechanic, so you must have ripped off the whole game. That just makes no sense because, I made a side scroller and I compare it to the bonus levels from Sonic with Meat Boy in terms of the difficulty and Guitar Hero's color changing. Does that mean that I basically just gone and ripped off those 3 games? Maybe I did, but it plays like none of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's still its own unique thing. So it doesn't matter if it's got similar mechanics. It's a whole different experience, and that is really what playing games is all about, really, to me anyway.
I think it's just, with comments and stuff, like, for Poncho, it's been like 99% good comments, like people loving the game or whatever. But, there's always those few bad ones, and I think there's just those people out there who want to take people down a peg or two. It's like the few times like I've done posts on TigSauce or like on Facebook groups, like every now and then there'd be a guy who just like said something like it rips off Fez. And then, like, I never reply to these people, but like, I just watched this like slew of this conversation happen with people trying to defend Poncho, which is quite nice just to watch in the background and not get involved because that's usually a bad thing. But yeah, I just think there's people out there that they have to say bad things. It makes them feel validated when they're on the internet and stuff.
There's a lot of it on the Facebook groups, like I mentioned before. I'm sure we all know which group I'm talking about, but you post anything in there and you get accused of copying something. I had a lot of it with Hyphen because, unfortunately,
I saw that one.
Yeah, I used to get it all the time. But there's a game called Curry on the Game Boy Advance, and apparently I completely ripped it off. I didn't even know it existed until I was halfway through developing Hyphen. But yeah, it's got a very, very, very similar game mechanic. I actually based Hyphen off an old Flash game I used to play, but apparently I ripped off an obscure Japanese game, and I got hell for it for quite a few months, to be honest with you. But like you said, people pull through, you get people defending your game, and it's nice to see. It's probably another point to give to the budding developers. You've got to be able to take the flak from people as well, because you get a lot of it. Some people just log on the internet basically just to tell other people that they're crap.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I hadn't heard of Mutant Buds either until like halfway through development. And Fez came out like a few months after we started working on Poncho. But yeah, I think it is totally different as well. It's like, yes, it has a Z-plane mechanic where you can shift into the foregrounds and backgrounds, but like in Paper Mario and Mutant Mudds, like you're very restricted in how and where you can do that. It's like, okay, you can do this cool shifting thing, but only if you're standing right here in this particular place. Whereas in Poncho, you can do it anywhere, and it kind of opens up the game to a whole kind of new way of exploring, which is what I was going for, rather than just being, oh look, you can shift around this part once in this level to get to the next level.
I think it just tends to be indies that get it, to be honest with you, because when people release Call of Duty or people release Battlefield, they don't get accused of cloning Doom, do they? It only tends to be the indies that get it for some reason. I'm not sure what it is, but
I think it's because like there's a personal face to put to the game, and they feel like if they do these comments, it's just like they're talking to a big company, and like they're probably not going to see it. They know like if they comment on indie developers' work, that they need to.
Gone robotic there.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, you're
that's better.
Okay. I think my girlfriend's watching Netflix downstairs. That's probably it.
Netflix and chill.
Yeah, Netflix and chill.
No, actually, I was going to say I do find that interesting that you said that, because it seems like when it comes to the independent side, you're right. People are very quick to say rip off as opposed to what was your inspiration for it. And I think it is true. Like on the AAA or even the AA side of things, people seem to give it a pass, because I'll give like let's say Darksiders for an example. Everyone says, "Oh, it's a Zelda clone," as opposed to a Zelda ripoff. I'm like, okay, inspiration comes from a lot of different places. So, but that actually kind of leads me into a question that I have for, and I'll start with Marc. We can kind of go around, but Marc, what were some of your inspirations for Hyphen?
Well, I've always been a massive fan of really rock-hard games. I don't know what it is. I like to punish myself a little bit with video games. I think over the last few years, games have gotten a little bit too easy.
Very hand-holding. Absolutely.
Absolutely massive fan of Geometry Wars. I spent most of my teenage years playing Geo Wars on the Xbox 360 because I'm a bit sad like that. But I got the neon colours and things from games like that. And like I said, I used to play a game. I think it was called Twiddle Sticks on Miniclip, which was basically a game where you had a stick rotating through a river and you had to get it to the end of it. And I thought, I like this concept, so I'll combine the two. My favourite art style. I've always liked neon glowy lines. I love the film Tron. It just felt good, and I could do the graphics for it. It's one of the few things I can actually draw is a neon line. And yeah, it just came together that way. Ideas from loads of games I've played. You can tell it's got it looks a lot like Geometry Wars, but basically it's as hard as hell, which is it's kind of the game I wanted to play really. The only problem is I'm quite good at it, so I need something a bit harder now.
Yeah, I kind of felt that I guess like you have the Geometry Wars inspiration, but I never felt ripped off Geometry Wars.
No,
I think it's showing how to go for Gear Gauntlet. Now, before we move around the table any further, I'd just like to welcome Worrywart. He's been able to join us now. Welcome.
Hey, sorry.
Hey.
I tried to get here. And I would like to add that I played Twiggle Sticks for 6 months while I was supposed to be working.
It is addictive, isn't it? Yeah. That's why I designed Hyphen, because you don't see many of them types of game, and I thought I can bring a bit of a unique thing to it. I think we have done. You don't see many of them really, so.
Very true.
Absolutely. It's a very cool concept. Now, it's been brought to my attention that apparently YouTube and I are not getting along right now. It's not allowing the comment section to be enabled. So anybody who was keen to actually ask a question, please head over to Twitter and use #DevWorkshop. So that's DEV Workshop. Attach your question to that. I'll get it via Twitter and I'll pop it through to the devs. So sorry for the inconvenience, and let's move on. So we'll move to Danny, shall we? Maybe what was your inspiration for Pancho?
Well, Pancho, we didn't know what game we were going to make. It's me and my partner Jack Odell, who also does the music and design, and we were deciding what kind of game we were going to make, and we knew we wanted it to be an ambitious indie game of sorts. And he just randomly drew this pixel art character of a robot in a poncho. And I just thought that was such a cool character design. Like, we have to make a game about this guy. I don't care what it is. And then we sort of brainstormed for a bit, and we were thinking, like, we remember like old school Sega games we used to play, which are pretty much all side scrollers on the Sega. And I remember thinking like you'd see like hills and mountains in the background that would like parallax scroll past, but you can never actually go to those places and explore. So I thought it'd be cool if you just press a button and then you're in the background and you can explore that area. So that's kind of where it mainly came from, and like I guess particular games it would be like Braid, Cave Story. I just like that feeling that Braid has of frustration followed by enlightenment, I guess. Like that, I've done it. I finally figured out it was there all along.
That's a good way to put that.
Yeah, and like just the slightly exploratory feeling of Cave Story and things like that. Not quite a Metroidvania or anything, but kinda.
So you can explore foreground and then background.
Yeah, well, it's like every level is made up of 3 to 6 layers, and
Oh, wow.
so it's like each like layer just works like a normal sort of 2D level on its own, but then you can shift in between them all. And there's lots of weird mechanics that work around that.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Thanks.
And how about you, James? What was your inspiration for Totem?
Yeah, so for Totem Topple, it's actually originated in a game jam. So the mechanic came first, sort of a tower defense where you literally have one single tower and you just sort of stack it up and up and up. Yeah, and then from that we would sort of I was quite insistent to the rest of the team. I don't want to do something that's set in space. I don't want to do something that's set in pseudo-medieval Europe because it's cliched and it's been done before, and other people can do that and that's cool, but I want to do something different. And I had to think about it, and someone thought, oh well, Totem Pole kind of makes sense because you can stack it up, and kind of went from there. And then it was a case of taking inspiration from the sort of Native American art and culture, because like it's not really kind of genuine. And you have to be a little bit careful as well, because if you just sort of take like a picture of a totem pole and you say, oh, I'll basically just copy that, you can't do that, because that's someone's actual spirit or god that they believe in, and you're just completely ripping it off, and you can actually be quite offensive. So you need to so we had to be like a little bit careful about that, and hopefully we haven't insulted anyone along the way. I hope not. I did check with a couple of different Native Americans, and they said, okay, well, we can't speak for everyone, but it looks all right. So I'm kind of fingers crossed on that. And then I think the rest of it was just having like a sort of, it's quite stark, it's quite simple, but it kind of pops out, which is and I think the results were pretty good, actually. I think this is the other thing, actually, thinking about what Danny was saying earlier about the pixel art. It's kind of, you pick an art style and then you execute it well, right? And in a sense, it's always going to be subjective, whether people like it or not. But the best you can do is, pick something and then make sure that you do a really good job of it.
Oh, you just made me think of Custer's Revenge then.
Oh,
like,
boy.
In terms of how offensive it could be for Native Americans.
Oh, man. Yeah, that wasn't an offensive game, was it?
No, it was loved by children and everyone. It was a family
I couldn't
game.
believe that they made that game and published it.
In the Atari
Seriously?
days, you could make anything. It's
Yeah.
like, kind of like now, you like that. If you wanted to make that game now, release it. There's nothing that you could do it.
No.
You'd get like a hellstorm on the internet for it,
Yeah.
but like.
They'd invent a new
you can do
hashtag
it.
just to abuse you because of them for making it, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Oh, you're roboting.
Native American Gate or something like that. That'd be it then.
Hashtag Native American Gate.
Now, I do have to apologise if it sounds like somebody's in a swimming pool next to me. My turtle has been asleep all morning, and then as soon as we went into the workshop, he's decided that he needs to splash around on the top of the tank. So just excuse that noise in the background. A little bugger.
No worries.
So Jay, how about you?
Oh boy. You would think that I'd probably get some inspiration from Super Meat Boy and stuff, but to be honest, my game, I actually came up with the idea way before Super Meat Boy was ever released. The idea is very, very old, and I've started again so many times that you would think that it's like people just don't believe where I got the ideas from. But I would say if the most inspiration I had was definitely Guitar Hero, because at that time I was really loving that game, and I was just like, I really like this color, the whole color mechanic, but I wanted to, because I've always loved the 360 controller, and you look at the control pad and it's just like these colors are perfect for a game, and I thought, okay, what game can I make that could work with the controller and color switching and stuff like that, and I knew I could only get away with making something 2D, even though I studied 3D at university. I hated it, so I just knew I wasn't going to do anything 3D. I don't know, I just love 2D games and stuff like that. So I knew we need to do that, and I think this is kind of when mobile games started getting a bit big as well. And I think there was what game was it? I think it was Gravity Man or something like that that I was playing as well, and I kind of liked the fact that it was sort of moving forwards constantly. This is why Giggle moves forward constantly. But I don't like games where you just continuously play. I don't like endless wonders where you just keep going and going and there's no goal. I always like to have a goal in a game. So whenever I play a game, I always say, okay, what is the end goal? What am I trying to do here? And if I feel that there's no end goal, I'll just give up on the game. I won't play it anymore. So that's sort of like with films as well. I'll give the film 10 minutes. If I can't figure out where it's going, I just turn off the film. So that's sort of, I needed to work with those sort of parameters. So it was going to constantly move forwards. It was going to have some kind of color changing in it because I was really heavily into Guitar Hero then. And then similar to what Marc said, I felt games were just becoming too easy. So I was just like, I'm gonna just punish people. I just wanted.
Has anybody else here played it? Does everyone else here want to punch him in the nose? I do.
I want to shake his hand. I think it's brilliant.
Jay's goal all along has been to punish people. He's like a masochist. I want to punish everyone.
I mean, there was literally a point where there was the very first level, which is actually in the game, but it's been modified a lot. It was really, really difficult. Before, because Unity was quite new back then as well. When I first started using it, so I didn't make this game in Unity. I actually made it in XNA, and I did a lot of the physics myself. And I'll be honest, it was quite bad, and there was a lot of pixel perfect collisions going on. So it was very easy to die and not fit through the best of gaps very easily. Like it was really, really, really hard. So looking at the game back then and to what it is now, even though people say it's really hard now, this is like the PG-13 version of the game. But yeah, a lot of the sort of inspiration definitely came from Guitar Hero. I've not shied away from that at all. And as I say, when Meat Boy finally did come out, it was sort of like, oh, okay, this is acceptable to make games like this where you can just die and die and die, and people find joy from it. Because I was actually worried that it was gonna. I mean, I didn't make the game to sell commercially. I was making other games as well, and this was just, like I said, the game that I just wanted to play and something to show my friends, because I was, at university and stuff like that, and it was just a way to sort of exercise the skills that I was learning and stuff like that. Sort of be a bit of a show off to the lecturers and stuff like that. And then we also had Game City in Nottingham, which had these nights where you could basically, they give you a monitor and stuff like that, so you could present your game and stuff like that, and it felt cool that people would hover around, you know, to come and play the game that I wanted to play. And the first time I actually thought it could be something commercial was when a guy called Dean Wilkinson, who wrote the story for Worms and Driver for San Francisco, he came up to me and was like, I don't know what it is about the game, but I really love it, and I'd like to write a story for it. So at one point, Giggle was gonna have a story, but that didn't work out because it took away from the game, because we started focusing so much on trying to get this story right and why you was there and all this stuff that we actually didn't progress with any of the game. So we had like 2 or 3 levels, and then we just had this story, and it was just like, yeah, this is just slowing us down kind of thing. And yeah, then I just ended up abandoning it. So
maybe it could be like Minecraft one day, you know? Minecraft has no point, that all of a sudden there's like a Minecraft movie. And there's a story.
Well, I mean, the other day I was just saying to myself, you know, because I have delayed it, it could miraculously, you know, release with a story, and it's just like, yes, this is why you're here, kind of thing. Because one of the things I have noticed with the game is that, I mean, if I was to do it again, I definitely would make a central character, because a lot of people are kind of like, so why are you just a cog, you know, and it just feel no connection with why they're doing what they're doing, other than, you know, if you're someone that just wants to play the game because you want to beat your friend's score and stuff like that. But I just feel that if there was some kind of character, you know, central to the game, that it would make it a lot easier for people to find that connection with it. I mean, I've said to people, you know, why you know, don't you make some sort of fan art for the game and stuff like that? And some people have been like, yeah, okay, what should I draw? Just a cog, you know? And you kind of think to yourself, well,
do you remember? Just a bit of an interjection there, Jamie. I don't think it's a big deal. I mean, what were you in Tetris?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Do you remember when the story didn't matter in games? Times have changed.
Yeah. People, like, so many people have said to me, man, you missed it there. You should have, you know, we had ideas of putting a guy inside a spaceship, and it was just like this. One of the things I wanted to circle was that because of the rotation and stuff like that, I needed it so that it looked the same no matter which direction it was going and stuff like that. And I didn't want to have to animate the different directions and stuff like that. Yeah, I could have just obviously rotated the sprite and things like that, but I just didn't want no complications with anything in terms of the artwork. So it was just like giving it a circle, something that just looks the same in all situations and stuff like that. And then there was even a point where, this is when I started working with Steve now, he came up with the idea that you could be a cell inside the human body, so you're going to have all these body parts and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then we started it, and we just like, because we were shit at art, so it just looked horrible.
You know, just being honest.
Horrible.
Yeah. What a way to sell it.
and enough
hey, you should put that on the packaging, Jay. Gear Gorman, we're shit at art.
But yeah, I took a long hard think about it, and I just like, do you know what? We're sticking with sort of the forest level that you know has been seen and stuff like that. And that's when Microsoft came out with the idea of Xbox, and I was like, look, if this doesn't go anywhere, then I'm probably just gonna give up. I've tried, I've started again so many times that if it just doesn't work this time, I'm gonna give up. But we got on a program and stuff, and as I was sort of giving them builds, I was updating it rapidly, because we ended up decided to actually pay for an artist. And going back to the whole pixel thing, I was like, the one art style I'm not gonna do is pixel art. Not because I don't like it, because there's some games like what's it called? Scott Pilgrim. I really love that the artwork in that game, and the artist that did, I can't remember his name, but he does some amazing work. But yeah, I decided I'm not gonna do pixel art, because one of the things that I noticed a lot of people said was that indie games, you know, whenever you think of an indie game, you think of pixel art. And I just thought to myself, okay, how do I stand out from all the others if I'm, you know, an indie? I can't do pixel art, otherwise I'm just going to be again in this boat, indie game, pixel art, just, you know, throwaway and stuff like that. So the artist started doing some concepts of what he could do, and I was like, I actually like this. And he goes, yeah, but it's not finished. And I was like, but I like it. So I was like, you're going to make all the art look like concept art. And, you know, people actually really liked it. Like, we started getting so much, people started focusing on the art, was like, the art just looks so gorgeous. You know, is this the same game? And I was like, yeah, it's the same game. And they just focused so much on the art that, you know, at times it kind of felt like, wow, what about all the work I did? You know, this is my game kind of thing. But,
he's like, get rid of the artist. Get rid of the artist.
Fire him now.
But yeah, just we decided to go for that, and so yeah, then we just it was like a watercolored, you know, hand drawn type art style, and it just worked, and you know, we just stuck with it, and yeah, that's basically where you get where Gear Gauntlet sort of, you know, how we got to where it is now.
I wouldn't worry about story because if Star Wars Episode 1 can make millions of dollars, then so can Gear Gauntlet.
I'm still wondering what sort of story Worms had. You mentioned that you spoke to a guy who did the story for Worms.
Yeah.
What story is there other than blowing each other up?
There are those little CGI cutscenes that are like little comedies.
Little bits of dialogue as well. You know, the IT crowd. No, the boss. Yeah, he wrote all his lines as well. Even the guy in IQ, QI or IQ, is it?
QI.
Yeah, QI. Yeah, he wrote a lot of his lines as well. Like the guy's done quite a lot of work, and you know, it was really crazy that he wanted to work with me, because I was like, you know, I've got no money. You know, I can't pay you. But he was just like, you know. There's just some people that just out of passion want to do certain things for free. So yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, you know, I was a bit baffled with Worms as well. You know, when he said it's got he wrote the story for it, because I was just like, you know, I didn't really know it had a story, but apparently, yeah.
Interesting.
I think the thing with story is like, you know, if you're making a game that sells itself on having a story, kind of like, I mean, Pancho sold itself on having a bit of a sort of dark story, but some people said that it doesn't have enough. Like, there's like 5 minutes of cutscenes at the start, then there's a couple more throughout the game, and then there's a big ending cutscene. And, you know, there's characters throughout the game and stuff as well that you can talk to and stuff. But, like, people, that's not enough for people. Like, if you tell people that there's a story, they expect, like, a full-on campaign dialogue
War and Peace,
thing. Yeah, but then, you know, it's like games that don't sell themselves on having a story. I mean, Guitar Hero is kind of one. But also, you know, like Super Hexagon, trying to think of some others.
I think it's got a story. It's just a really pissed off hexagon that wants to kill you. That's
iDub doesn't have a story, and it is hugely successful.
Yeah, but the difference between those games, though, the person who made them always tend to be someone that's worked in the industry and is always either known to some capacity, whereas I was just this guy that happened to get on, you know, the idea Xbox. Like, so many people still come up to me and say, how the hell did you get on idea Xbox? Why you? And it's just like, well, I just submitted my game. Because I go to a meet where there's a lot of AAA, you know, ex-AAA devs and stuff like that, and they got rejected and things like that. So for them to see me, you know, appearing on the Xbox stage and stuff like that, part of them, you know, feels proud and stuff, because I'm representing Nottingham and stuff like that. But some part of them just feels like, why is he on the stage? What's special about him? You know, because especially just Egypt's just gone. I was with 11 other games, one being Cuphead, you know, which is everyone knows a massive game. I was right next to Cuphead on the front part of the sort of the indie section. So it was like, why did these 12 games get picked out of all the other games that were sort of part of either Xbox? And
well,
you know,
I'd like to think it's because it was a good game. I mean, I played some of the Xbox.
Well,
and,
you would think so, but there's some people that will hate because, you know, it didn't happen to them.
There's always going to be some people who hate. I wouldn't worry about it too much. You know, like I applied for the Idea Xbox program and I got told no, and that, you know, when I look back at it now, I think, yeah, actually the thing I was submitting, it wasn't you know, it was still a pretty early prototype. It didn't look good. You know, there were issues with it. So, you know, I wouldn't worry about that too much, to be honest. I think you just gotta say, well, haters gonna hate, you know, and you know, just run with it.
Shake it off.
I've got a slight theory about that. I mean, we got through with Hyphen, and I think if you look at the Xbox One dashboard, there isn't many little time killer games, is there? You remember when the Xbox 360 came out? You had Geometry Wars, you know, all those launch titles, you know, just to have a quick play on the dashboard with. Whereas it's only recently that games like that have started appearing on the Xbox One, and I think a lot of the games that I did at Xbox kind of scratched that itch really.
Yeah. You think mobile killed that? You think the rise of mobile killed that?
I don't know, because I still don't think you can take away from having the gamepad in your hand. I'm a traditionalist. I cannot sit and have a serious gaming session on a mobile phone.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is you need like a good balance of sort of short and longer games on a console. And if you've got a game that, you know, sort of looks really good and really stands out, and people go onto the dashboard and they go, oh, that looks pretty cool. I think, like, you know, what Jay was saying earlier with the with the concept art. I had a previous game and I used the like completely differently from Gear Gauntlet, but I used concept art style. That was the art style for that, and it worked really, really well. People really, really loved the the art. They really liked the way it looked. I mean, it wasn't a very good game mechanically, so it didn't do so well, but you know, it really stood out. And I think, unfortunately, to an extent, you know, people do tend to judge you on your art. Oh,
well, without a doubt, yeah. It's the first sense that gets activated, isn't it, when you're looking at like a medium? It's the first thing that catches your eye when you go into a store, what something looks like. You get a lot of people saying graphics don't matter, but actually they do. It's 100%. I think they do. It has to stand out.
I was actually going to bring Pancho to Xbox because we wanted it on everything, and that was like the only thing we didn't have it on. You know, I joined the ID Xbox thing and, you know, showed them Pancho, and they sent me a dev kit like a couple of months before this, but like it was like 7 weeks before. No, it was like 5 weeks before we were going to go into PS4 certification. And I started talking to Xbox. Okay, we need to set up all the things, you know, so that we can give you a build for certification. And on PS4, certification takes like a week. But like talking to Xbox, they said, yeah, certification takes like 2 months. I was like, that pushes us past our release date. And they were like, well, would they have this policy where it's basically like if you've released it on PS4, you have to release it on Xbox within 30 days or they won't take it. I don't know if it's just like a rivalry thing or if like they just, you know...
Yeah, they wanted exclusivity, didn't they, for quite a while. I mean, I remember, it was mentioned when we went to the event that they did want exclusivity.
They said they'd only take the game if we gave them exclusive content.
Yeah.
I think I get the impression it's a kind of... Yeah, I get the impression it's kind of a weird sort of like corporate thing from on high, like you know, I mean, you know, maybe Jay will be able to say more, but yeah, that's the impression I get, that the guys actually on the Xbox team are like, you know, they want to, you know, encourage people, but you know, there's some corporate policies somewhere up there in the upper echelons of Microsoft. I mean, for comparison, I've done the Wii U stuff, and with that, it you know, basically you go into a queue. And you know, the queue's usually, you know, between a week or 2 weeks long, and then it takes 3 days to you know, to then actually get, you know, 3 days or so to actually get tested. The catch being that you're quite unlikely to pass first time, so you probably have multiple submissions.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that parity clause still going on now, or is that something you're talking about happened in the past?
It's basically still there, but it's like you know, Kushalo said in many of his sort of interviews and stuff like that. It's the whole idea behind not making, you know, them feel like second best or second rate, where you go to them after you've done all the release and the other platforms had all the hype and stuff like that. So yeah, from, you know, what they've said is basically if you are going to go to them at a later date, then you just have to, do something special for the Xbox version. Maybe make an extra character that's only available on Xbox, or just do something that makes people want to play the game and not feel. It's like Rise of the Tomb Raider. It's going to come out on PlayStation a whole year later. So people have posted it for a whole year. All the endings are spoiled because everyone's just tweeted it, blah blah blah, and stuff like that. So in reality, the PlayStation user is sort of getting that second-rate game. And that's basically what it is, really. It's what can you do for us, kind of thing, that makes us feel special, like it's your first, like you're launching with them, kind of thing. So it's understandable.
I was going to say, I think the other thing is that to an extent, there's a lot of indie developers out there. So if you've got something really special, then Microsoft would probably sit up and say, okay, let's have a conversation about this. But I think there's
exactly.
in fairness, there's probably quite a lot of average games out there. So.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the market is absolutely flooded at the moment, and I guess they do have to have some sort of system in place where they can sort of bottleneck how many are coming through, and they can actually, pick those good ones out without missing them, because there is just so much stuff coming through all the time.
I think it's a learning experience for Microsoft as well, because I think it's probably the first time that AAA devs and indies have been on an even playing field. Yeah. With ID at Xbox, it's full access to the console for everybody. It's just never been like that before, so you can expect there are going to be teething issues anyway.
Yeah, naturally.
Well, now we have more. Those teething issues can be amplified by people complaining on Twitter.
And speaking of Twitter, I'll just remind all of the viewers who can't comment because YouTube is being rude to them right now, use the hashtag DevWorkshop on Twitter. Send your questions there if you're hoping to ask the dev something. Now, Warren, I know that you had a couple of questions that you wanted to ask. Did you want to ask one now?
I'm kind of jumping into this. Why don't you go first?
Okay, well, there's a conversation that I would actually like to bring up about Steam Greenlight. Now, I know that there are a lot of devs out there that are looking to put their game on there for the first time, and they would feel really quite intimidated by that process. So what advice can you offer people that are going to be going through this process? I mean, for you guys that have been there and done that, what can they expect? What should their expectations be?
I think, first of all, the Steam community can be very blunt.
I was going to say
yeah, I mean, like...
good way to put it.
I mean, the main thing is make sure you've got a good game that isn't like, make sure it's pretty much finished when you put it on Greenlight, because people, if it's got like Unity assets and, if it doesn't look very professional, like it's not going to get through, people will slate your game until it doesn't ever come out. Another thing is you've got to have a really good video and do a good job of it. If you can't do it yourself, get someone else to do it. Like, the trailer is probably the most important thing. You could sell any kind of game with a good trailer. And also, another thing I would say is don't reply to anyone that tells you your game is crap. Like, I remember when Pancho was on Greenlight, at the time I was looking at the quote-unquote competition who were at Greenlight at the same time, and I was seeing like 90% of the games that go onto Greenlight shouldn't have even been submitted. Like, they're very, very much like it's someone's first, not even just their first commercial game, it's their first game that, I made like 4 or 5 games before I made Pancho, but like none of them were released because they weren't good. I did all the art myself. It was programmer art, and people are uploading these games thinking they'll get rich quick, and the Steam community sees that and they hate it. They hate it. And I saw there's one guy, and it definitely looked like it was like, I don't know, his first year university project or something like that. It was on that kind of level. And like this guy, there's comments just saying, yeah, it shouldn't be here. This isn't good. And there's one guy, like, he seemed to ignore them. There's one guy who's like,
you've gone all robot mode again.
Oh, how am I now?
Nope, still robot.
Still robot?
Yeah.
Damn.
It usually only takes about 5 seconds to clear up for you, though, so you should be right about now. Yep, you're good.
Am I okay now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there was this one guy on that guy's Greenlight page for his not so great game, and he gave quite a good criticism. Like I really enjoy criticism for Pancho because it helps me as a designer to make better games. You know, as long as it's not just your game is shit and you should kill yourself. If it's actual constructive criticism,
That's pretty constructive. Jeez.
yeah. As long as it's actual.
That's straight to the
But
point.
like, what this guy said was something like, you know, you should work on this. Maybe like this menu could be more fluid, blah blah. And the guy basically replied like, "How dare you? This is the best thing I've ever created." And it was like,
Yeah.
oh no. And he, you know, obviously when you reply, if you reply in a very Phil Fish type manner, you're going to open up a whole comment section, a whole reply thread dedicated to why your game is shit.
Oh, Philfish.
don't
So
do
that almost acts like that whole process almost acts like a parody clause for Steam to make sure games coming on aren't just bad.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think it does a very good job of making sure that though, because there are some.
Yeah, it's I don't know how some games. Well, it's like I said, like you can get a good trader can sell a really shit game.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
there might
that-
be a lot of games
that's
out there that
everywhere.
have done
Yeah.
a really like well cut trailer, and then people go, "Oh, it's a cool action game," and then you play it, and it's just like
Ugh.
not.
I've heard that.
Garbage.
That eventually every game, you know, some games have sort of been forgotten about, and then 2 years later, yep, they're through.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm actually finding Greenlight to be quite brutal, to be honest. There are so many people that are voting on games, and there's demos there for these games, but they're not even bothering to download the demo and play it. They're just clicking no on an image or an idea of what they think the game might be, which is going to be
Yeah.
completely different from what the game actually is. I'm finding Greenlight to be quite brutal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you know, I've just recently, you know, 2 days ago released Giggle on it on there, and currently when I last checked, it was like 36%, which I don't know if that's supposed to be good or bad or what. I was trying to not read into the numbers, but it's like I thought to myself, okay, if I'm going to build this page, I'm gonna use the fact that I'm coming to the Xbox and, you know, other platforms as a way to, you know, show that there's quality in this game, and, you know, posted the trailer that I put on the Xbox site, posted a recording of me at EGX on the Xbox stage, posted, you know, some GIFs showing the mechanics, blah blah blah. Even put a nice demo there so people can understand what the game is. But obviously, because I want to show the mechanics, so I used levels from the different worlds and stuff like that. Because, you know, some games they put the tutorial levels, but the tutorial levels are quite boring because they're so easy and stuff like that. And this game, it's the frantic levels that give you the most excitement. And one of the first comments that I got back was, the game's too hard, it ramps up too fast. And I was like, you know, I mean, luckily this person, I knew them from dev stuff, from Xbox development and things like that. So I kind of explained, oh yeah, basically I'm trying to show you all the mechanics, so I had to, you know, grab levels from the different worlds and stuff like that. And then he was like, oh, okay, now you've explained that, it makes sense, but you don't know that from playing the game. So I had to quickly, you know, make another build, put sort of disclaimer text, the levels will ramp up quickly because blah blah blah, you know. And I don't know, for me it just felt like a really crazy experience, and I think that's also partly why I've put it off so long, and I sort of said, okay, it's a console game, so I'm going to keep it on console and sort of focus that way and stuff like that. And I'm not really a mouse and keyboard kind of person, and I know that is one thing that will, you know, get you no votes if your input isn't done well. And I mean, I tried my best with it with sort of the limited resource and time I've got with it. I just couldn't dedicate it to making screens just for it and stuff like that. And I sort of say, you know, use a controller
There are a lot of PC gamers that use controllers, though. You know.
Yeah, well, exactly.
I think the whole mouse and keyboard thing is overstated a bit.
Yeah, well, you know, and I mean, there was Bellis, or there was one guy saying, you know, I couldn't exit the game and stuff like that. So right in the morning, I had to quickly again add another build where you could press escape to sort of
Exit,
get out. I mean, there's so many ways to exit a game. You just press the window button.
I know, right? That's what I said to you. There's a monitor button on your keyboard. If you press the monitor button, it's going to bring up your monitor.
Yeah,
anyway.
well, you know, so some people just want to find any excuse, but as Danny says, you know, you try not to. I mean, usually what I do if someone's made a comment or something like that, I say to them, do you know what, you're totally right. Okay, you know, I've just released a new build that's fixed that, blah, blah, and I don't know, I try to think that sort of shows that, you know, I'm listening and, you know, I'm ready to take on board their comments and stuff like that, and the next person who comes to vote will see that and say, yeah, these devs are, you know, actually, you know, they're not trying to sort of make a quick buck, and they're actually, you know, paying attention to what's going on with the comments and stuff like that.
Yeah, you want to build a positive vibe, and you know, if you're going in for the whole sort of, okay, I'm gonna, you know, I want to build a community. I don't want to just land here and just say, you know, this is my game and then disappear, you know, because there are the kind of crap games on there that just appear and you know, obviously not Gear Gauntlet, but you know, others where they're basically kind of half broken and the developers kind of never seen again because they're just, you know, they just arrived and then left again.
I've watched a lot of the Jinquisition where he takes apart some of the games, especially the ones that use Unity assets and just sell it straight on. Those ones are just absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, I hate those. I think there was one that was quite good. It was like, I mean, good. It was really bad. It was like set in a plane, and you were like inside
flight control game. That's ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like all like Unity UI menus, and like you just walked around the inside of an empty plane, and there was like no gameplay. I think at some point you could get
that's great.
Plane. It just like, flew in a straight line. It was literally something that anyone could have coded in a day. It was all Unity assets, and I don't know. I think it like sold okay on Steam. Like I think it got some articles on like Kotaku and stuff.
It's
so
strange
that
that some of the concepts that sell. Like I heard of a game called I Am Bread. And it was explained to me. It was explained to me by someone. Yeah, and the person explained to me said, "Well, basically, you're bread." And I thought, "What? Like, what can I possibly do as a piece of bread?" But people that I hear talk about it love it.
The irony is that you look at the concept of it, you have a look at the artwork for it, and you're like, so I'm literally going to be a piece of bread on my journey to become toast. Okay, whatever. But then you actually look at the game, like you have a go with the game, and the mechanics are really difficult. Like it takes a lot of coordination. It actually is quite a difficult game. I mean, has anybody played? Is it called Octodad?
Yeah.
Where it was like two of you trying to control the one thing. Like it's kind of that sort of concept. It's not easy. It looks like.
Yeah.
You know, a great example of that is Katamari Damacy.
Yeah, good example.
You're just rolling around a world collecting things, and there's this crazy story, and nobody knows what's going on, but everybody loves it.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of an art to doing kind of crazy off the wall, and just and it just ended up being crap.
Well, they just that was Bossa Studios, and they just came off making Surgeon Simulator as well, so they were kind of riding a wave anyway. So it was like
somebody should make a video game simulator where you're a character that just sits in a chair and plays video games.
there are games like there's like Game Dev Tycoon.
Game Dev Tycoon.
Watch Paint Dry.
I think the other thing, going back to what Jay was saying earlier, is like actually there's an art to making a demo. It's almost like a sort of different discipline in itself to versus making the whole game, because you've got to think, okay, it's like the difference between like writing a novel and writing a short story, and I think that can be really difficult as well if you're gonna have a demo to you can't just take a chunk from your current game and go sort of here it is, because it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like for Pancho's demo, we made it so that it started with a bang and ended with a bang. So like, it opens up with like, am I robotic, by the way?
No, you're good. No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. But yeah, so it opened up with all the opening cutscenes and all its glory and everything to get them into the game and get them buzzing. Quick tutorial, and then they play sort of the first area, and then instead, when they go to like the level exit, like a teleporter, instead of just going to the next area, it would take them to a cutscene that was a few levels later, because that was a cool cutscene. And they see that instead, and it ends there. I think the worst thing you can do in a demo is like time's up, like something that just lets you play the game for 10 minutes and then it closes and deletes your save.
Yeah.
That would probably be the worst thing to do.
Yeah. I think because with Giggle, the one mechanic where everyone was like, "Whoa, that's cool," is when it rotates. But that level is hard. So
yeah,
you know, it's to try and get them sort of used to the color. And
I can't hear you.
Jay, did somebody just start Netflixing and chilling because you're lagging?
Oh.
We might come back to Jay. We might give him a second just to let his connection even out. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Oh, we can now.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as I was saying, did you hear about the goof?
Yeah, no, your connection's lagging at the moment, Jay. I think somebody must have turned on an internet device in your house. If you want to just check on that, we'll come back to you in a couple of seconds. So whilst Jay gets his connection evened out, there was something else that I wanted to ask you guys about. I guess prior planning. How important is it to plan from the concept stage exactly what platforms you're going to release on, or is that something that can be factored in down the track?
Well, for Pancho,
making your game.
yeah. I mean, it depends whether you're targeting mobile or the rest. I mean, like, mobile is its own thing. Like, if you're targeting for mobile, often those kind of games, unless it's a point-and-click game or something, doesn't work well on other platforms.
Yeah.
But if you're making a console game, that will probably be just fine on PC and vice versa.
I think actually I think a better way to think about it is to think about it in terms of interfaces. So you got a touchscreen interface, right? Does the game, are you designing the game for touchscreen, right? Or are you designing it for like a console controller, or are you designing it for a mouse and keyboard? And then it may be that that you've designed it for one, and actually it does work with the other. So like you designed it for a mouse and keyboard, and it's a first-person shooter, and actually it does work with a console controller quite nicely. But if you designed a real-time strategy and it's for a mouse and keyboard, then it definitely doesn't translate. So I think you got to be aware when you design the game, when you design the interface, like what it does work on and what it doesn't work on. And maybe if you're not sure, you can experiment, and maybe you find, actually it does work on touchscreen, or maybe it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you shouldn't be going down. If you're going down the route of virtual D-pads and buttons, you've got to be really I'd be really hesitant to do that at that point. I think the other thing that I'd say as well is like there's sort of one technique for making games is that you make the prototype and you get it to you find the fun, and you keep iterating, you find something, this is really cool, right? And then you say, okay, that's the prototype, we're now going to rebuild it we're now going to rebuild it from the start, proper, so we're going to go into full production. If you're doing it that way, some people even switch engines. Some people start off in Unity or Game Maker and then say, right, we found a pretty cool game in that, we're now going to basically make the thing for proper in Unreal Engine or whatever. I think that's the point where you can say, okay, this engine that we're going to go away and basically make the game in now for proper, what platforms does it support, right? And then you can start planning ahead, based on that.
Just to add another point, I think it goes deeper than just input, presentation, and engine technologies as well. You've also got to consider the attention span of the game player. It's no good putting a 40-hour RPG on a mobile phone.
Yeah,
Some people love it.
that.
Yeah.
For the most part, I mean, if you're making a mobile game, you want something that you can pick up, have a quick game on, and put it down when your train journey's over with. Whereas console games are more involved, and to be honest with you, games like that are quite irritating on consoles because if you're sitting down for a proper game session, you want to just be engrossed in the game. But where mobile phones are concerned, you tend to see a lot of quick games, and they tend to be quite menu-y and quite require you to go through menus and things on a more regular basis. So. And there's going back to the engines as well. I mean, the biggest choice is you do have to think about your platform. If you're not using a pre-existing engine, it matters massively. If all the abstraction's not done for you, it does make a huge difference what platforms you're going to work with, and you do need to plan that in advance.
Right, so there's quite a few things that you really need to just have a good think about before really hooking right into the development, so that you don't get to that sort of midway, three-quarter way stage and realize that it's not going to work the way you were hoping, and you're not going to be able to release it where you were hoping to release it.
Well, scalability as well. If you're going cross-platform, every platform has different capabilities. A Nintendo DS isn't as powerful as a PC, so you've got to think of things like that as well. There's quite a lot of factors really. I mean, if you're making something quite basic, then I wouldn't say it matters as much. But if you're going to do something that's going to push the console or the PC a bit, then yeah, it's huge.
I think there's depending on how deep we want to go. I think there's other things as well that you can do. And things you do if you do them right at the start that make a big difference. So, for example, do abstract out your input, so you have like a separate input class, and then you can just go through that and say, if Xbox, do this, if PlayStation do this, if PC do this, stuff like that. I mean, the other one that's kind of a similar vein. It's not really connected to platforms, but is putting in a language module. If you're gonna, if you want to do something like that where you have multiple languages, then it's a lot easier to put it in at the start. You can still retrofit this stuff in, but quite often it's a pain in the ass to think, oh god, now I've got to basically rip things apart and put back together again.
Yeah,
definitely. I agree with the input controls thing. Like for Pancho, we knew we were going to be taking it to Steam, and we thought we might take it to console if we can get on there, because we had no idea how easy it would be or hard it would be to get on those consoles. And we tried to design the controls to be as simple as possible. Like the less buttons you have to press to play the game, the better. I mean, it depends on the type of game, but for a platformer, so we just had arrow key, space, and enter, and no mouse. So that means it was going to work fine on any controller, apart from mobile touchscreen or whatever. So I think it's much easier to port your game across just for gameplay-wise, the less controls you're using.
Yeah.
Good point.
I agree. Am I back, guys?
You're back.
Yes.
Welcome back, Jay.
Hello.
I just crossed the galaxy.
It sounds like you might have been.
Everyone connected to the internet to play Flappy Birds on their phones, right, Jay? In your house?
Awesome. Okay, so unless anybody else has any questions that they wanted to ask, we might start moving into the wrap-up stage of this, where we all do a little bit of a plug of what we have on offer.
I have a question actually for Danny and Mark, actually, because you still have been through the Greenlight process, and because I mean, you obviously, when it comes to sort of randomers, voting and stuff like that, you try to sort of disconnect from them and stuff like that. But how do you sort of prepare yourself or handle your feelings for people that you actually know and stuff like that? Like, for example, say you've got 500 people that have been saying, yeah, we're gonna, congrats, cheer you on and stuff like that. But then you find out that only I don't know, 1/3 of those people have actually voted. Have voted, so that a lot of them are just more or less ignoring your game. So I mean, how does that make you feel towards these people, knowing that they claim they're going to help you out and stuff like that, but really they're not?
It made me quite angry at first, I'll be honest with you. I was quite shocked at how little people, I'll even go as far as to say family just really didn't give a toss basically. But I think you've got to realise that what's important to you isn't always important to everyone else. And I don't know, it is quite annoying to be honest. I wasn't really prepared for it, and it just is a reality, unfortunately.
I voted for Gear Gauntlet.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I told the snipers not to come to your house.
I voted for Gear Gauntlet, and I left a comment that said, "Thank God you kicked out that artist."
Oh dear. And I think that's why something like this is so important as well, because this is a place where developers who are in that situation that aren't getting any support network, that are meeting brick walls, can come to for advice, and they can meet devs like yourself who are prepared to actually help people and send them in the right direction, give them a little bit of guidance. It's really important.
I think the thing with Steam... Go on, sorry, you go.
Oh, sorry. I think what helped a lot with our own Kickstarter, and getting support, is that our own Greenlight, is that we're running a Kickstarter at the same time, and also, about a month after we were there, we were at EGX with Pancho. We had a 4-screen booth there, and that helped a lot. I mean, the Kickstarter failed, but we got through Greenlight after I think it was like 6 odd weeks. We were on Greenlight before we got through, but just for numbers' sake, we had like a 51% yes rating, and it was like 3,500 yes votes. We weren't in the top 100, but it got through. I think I don't know if it matters so much. If you're in the top 100, I guess it's just if you've got a certain number of votes, wherever, Steam, the guys at Steam will just look at the list of games that have got this many votes and check them and see if any of them are actually any good. It might just come down to their own personal opinions.
It used to matter. The problem is now there's that many games on there that have just been on there for absolutely ages. They're in the top 100 by default, so they're not necessarily the best games anymore. So the system itself is going quite stagnant. So Steam have now started, Valve have now started cherry picking from the entire range, basically. It used to be important a long time ago, but it's just not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Valve said they're going to get rid of Greenlight.
Yeah, that's been being said for quite a while now, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago they said.
I mean, the answer to one of the questions before when you said about people looking for advice with Greenlight, my advice, to be honest with you, very blunt, just put your game on there, because at the minute, I mean, I'm looking on Facebook at the moment, I've seen people getting Greenlit, and they've only got 1,000 votes. Now, for comparison, we had nearly 30,000 votes on Hyphen, but that was back in the day when it was a bit more popular. You can get to number 38 in the top 100 now with 1,030 something votes. I think it is. I saw the other day. So just putting your game on there at the minute is enough to get it greenlit. I think, as long as it's not rubbish.
So what you're saying is I can stop going door to door in my neighborhood to say, hey, here's a link.
Yeah, I mean, publicity helps. The biggest thing, and it's similar to Kickstarter as well, kind of in how you run a campaign. But press attention doesn't hurt.
Definitely not.
We got a couple of posts from Destructoid as well.
It is one of the things that Valve look at as well. They do look at attention from outside of Steam. So
yeah, I think that's probably maybe where I wouldn't say it's a mistake, because Giggle was always supposed to be a sort of an Xbox thing. It was sort of my dream, I suppose. It sounds weird, but I've always just wanted to get a good game on the Xbox, because I do prefer the Xbox as my console of choice type thing. So for me, I was just so focused on I need to get a game on Xbox. I love this pad. The game has to work for this. Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing. That when people said, why don't you go for Greenlight or Steam and other platforms, it was kind of like, I'm one guy. Steve's, he helped with the levels and stuff like that, and he's done a really fantastic job with them and stuff like that. But essentially, it's me making a game, and that's why I try to, collaborate with people, because there's times where I feel like I'm going crazy because I just can't handle it. I code all day in my day job, then I come home and code all night. It's just it's just crazy. So
I think there's a really good. There's a really good general point there, actually, just about indie development is like, basically, get out of the house and get out there and like meet other developers, because you can't do it all on your own. This is what I've found. I've tried doing everything on my own, and it just doesn't work. I have to go down and meet with the other developers and and other people, and that's one of the great things about the indie sort of community. I mean, whether it's one that's sort of physically in your city or it's online, people are always willing to help. You just kind of got to go and ask for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like when the game was sort of getting really marketed with the Xbox and the Xbox and stuff like that, maybe that was the better time to sort of do all this pushing, because I've actually been featured in was Indie Gamer Mag and stuff like that, which is a PC like publication and stuff like that. So that probably would have been a better time for me to have won the Greenlight. But at the time, it was sort of like, oh my god, yeah, I'm going to be in this magazine, and blah blah blah, and I always mentioned that it will eventually come to Steam, but I just sort of did it as a it's coming to PC and Xbox. I just thought it was a thing to say rather than actually to make it come to the PC. So yeah.
I mean, this is the thing I'm going to find out. So I just released my game on the Wii U, and for me it'll be a case of, well, I kind of say, oh well, it's on Wii U and PC, and people are like, oh, can I have a Steam code? And it's like, well, actually I haven't gone through Greenlight yet, so I think I'll basically be putting that theory to test by doing the Greenlight on the back of the Wii U launch. It'll be interesting to see how that goes, whether it does make a difference.
Yeah.
I'm doing it the other way around. Just released on Steam. It's about to go on Wii U. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, like, basically sort of, because we're only small indie developers. We've got to use what we got. So if that means that you're trying to you decide to start in one place, and then you're like, okay, let's try and bring the fans from somewhere else, or people can look, oh yeah, that got pretty good reviews on Steam. I've got a Wii U, I'll get it on there. I've got an Xbox, I'll get it on that.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a thing. Like, if you've got your game on multiple consoles, like, people will see your game on a particular machine and then buy it on a different one. It works like as extra advertisement in a little way. Like, and it gets more of a buzz going if you've got more machines running it as well.
Do you at all think, though, that there's, you're going to get cases whereby people purposely don't want to support the other platforms because they want it to be something that they can see as an exclusive for their particular console of choice? Because there are a lot of people that really rooting for Giggle on the Xbox One. So maybe me sort of doing this big push of come help the Greenlight version, they could be possibly saying feeling, oh, why is he trying to put it on this other platform, which means it's not an exclusive anymore, and maybe they feel a bit slighted. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we get that for.
Sorry, you go.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. We get that a lot for like Pancho, because it hasn't come out. We were originally going to go for like a simultaneous release for everything, but we haven't quite finished Vita and Wii U yet. And we were like part of Nintendo's like Nindies thing as well, so we were like publicized a fair bit. Nindies. And we built, I think, our main. Yeah, that was their like. I think they did it. They started it like. Not
That's
like
actually
E3,
a great name. Nindies.
Yeah, but they took Pancho to like Gamescom and PAX and stuff, which is really cool because obviously I couldn't afford to do that. But like, yeah, so I think a lot of our fan base leading up to release were Nintendo based. A lot of people were asking for a 3DS version as well, even though she doesn't currently support it, so we can't. But the fact that I've had quite a few messages from people saying that they're waiting for the Wii version, they're not going to buy it until that version releases. So I guess it can affect it a little bit.
So is a simultaneous release maybe something that people should look at? It's like releasing it at the same time on PC and Wii or PC and Xbox or whatever, as opposed to doing them separately?
I think
nice
releasing on one. Be proud to release on
one at a time.
It'd be nice if it was that easy.
Yeah, I mean, like the Steam version was actually ready like months before we released. It was ready like in the early summer, but we released like 3 weeks ago because we were waiting for at least one other version, and that turned out to be PS4 was the first one to get finished. And the other ones are almost done, but we're just waiting for a few other things.
I'll tell you a story, Bella. There's a guy called Martin Kane, and he is bringing out a game called Positron, so a little plug for you, Martin. And he's trying to target every single platform in the world. And Mark knows he has delayed this game for years and years and years. There's actually a campaign for him just to release the game, you know, because people just his wife may even leave him because he won't release the game. Like literally, it's coming to everything, you know. And you know, kudos to him because like the amount of effort you know you have to put in to get it on working on all those things. And I know it even works on VR as well. So it's like anything they announce, he then says, okay, I need to make that version. So you know, people just need to not announce anything and then let him release his game.
I can just imagine every E3, he just has to go on a drinking binge, like every time the new consoles get announced or something. He's just like, oh, that's another year of my life gone.
Wow, that's very, very ambitious. We might have to have him on here next month so we can hear about it.
Yeah, hopefully he's listening.
Sorry, I missed that. Was that Positron by any chance?
Yeah, Positron, Martin Kane.
I just had to go and see my little lad because he's still awake, and I thought you were talking about Martin the minute I heard multiple platforms. Every single platform known to man. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just saying that he's basically been delayed so much because he's trying to get it on every single platform, and his wife is just like, release it, you know.
I think it works on my old calculator.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. Well, look, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining today. You've just added a massive amount of information and resources for anybody who's listening that's trying to get into game development. I'm sure that they're extraordinarily grateful for you giving up your time to bring your expertise here today. I think a fantastic way for us to wrap up might be for each of you guys that have games out now or have one coming out to just let everybody know exactly where they can go and get your game and why they should go and get your game. Let's start with you, Delve Interactive.
So our game is Pancho, a pixel art puzzle platformer where you can shift into foregrounds and backgrounds in a open world post-apocalyptic environment, and it's got robots and it's pretty cool. It's on PC and PS4. Go buy it.
Awesome. Over to you, James.
So my game is Totem Topple, and it is a game that's about building totem poles, and it's a tower defense, and it's not the sort of tower defense that you're expecting, but in a cool way, and you should totally buy it. It's on Wii U in North America and Europe, except for New Zealand and Australia, but that may change soon. And you can also get it on PC as well from itch.io.
Excellent, because I'm all the way over here in Australia, and that means that I don't get to play your game.
You can play the PC version. No, the Australian version is we got the certificate age rating thing through from Nintendo, and they've got a new system, and it's great, but it now takes 2 weeks or a month or whatever for it to go through Nintendo's bureaucracy. So it's coming, right? But they just introduced a new system, so you should basically in Australia and New Zealand you should get all the games now. There shouldn't be any problems in future. I like the Totem Topple was just before they introduced the new system, so we basically had to sort of redo it and then submit like an extra patch, and but it's coming.
Excellent. Over to you, Mark.
My game's Hyphen. It's available on Steam for PC and Linux at the moment, coming to Mac quite soon. Basically, Hyphen's a action puzzle game with a rotating stick that you have to navigate through intricate and quite fiendish mazes. It's rock hard, buy it if you're a fan of hard games and enjoy a challenge.
Awesome, and let's wrap up with Jay.
Hi, yeah, my game's Giggle. It's a simulation of Sonic and Meat Boy tripping on acid. No, it's a it's a side-scrolling punishing game where you've got to basically switch colours to get through some barriers. It's very fast moving. It's fiendishly hard, or it gets harder. It's currently on Steam Greenlight. You can go there and vote for it. Just search Gear Gauntlet or follow me on Twitter at Bites with Chicken. And I've been posting like crazy. So you can definitely find it. There's a demo for you to download. I'm actually in the process of trying to get the demo working on the Mac. Just got my Mac back from the repair shop, so I'm currently doing that. So I urge everyone to at least play the game. I'm watching the numbers for everyone that downloads it, and I know I've got more friends than it's saying. So just at least download it, just to give me feedback and stuff like that, because it really does help. And as I say, with the PC, I'm not the best PC user, so I would love some feedback with the PC version, and getting the keys right and stuff like that. So yeah, Gear Gauntlet, go get it on Steam Greenlight, and let's get this game through.
Yeah, and look, if you do go and have a look at it on Steam Greenlight. We're now steaming our Greenlights. Don't go away without leaving us some feedback if you're going to click no. Like, if it's not a game that you want to see on Steam, fine. But give us that feedback. It's really important that you let us know what's not working about it for you, because we can't change things and make them better if we don't know what the problems are. And if you do love it, if you do download that demo, you play it, you think it's fantastic, tell us about it. Tell us what works so well for you, why you enjoyed it, and why you want more. Because we need that feedback too.
Yeah, and any streamers out there as well. Yeah, please stream it, and let's get the reactions and stuff like that, because it's totally a game that that is fit for this kind of thing. I mean, if you watch the hype and stuff, and some of that is hilarious, and that game is brutally hard. I thought it was a walk in the park until I played it. And yeah, Marc, you're a bit of a but definitely, stream it. Let's get your reactions out there, and you know what I mean. Send me your playthrough so I can see how you're playing it, because that demo I can beat it in about 3-4 minutes, where people are telling me they're stuck in it for days and weeks and stuff. But
Yeah, I can back that up. It's very, very, very inspiring when you see people playing your game. So give Jay a bit of love. It'll keep him going.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for your time, gentlemen. And thank you to every one of you who tuned in today. If you have come up with any questions that you didn't quite get a chance to ask, or we've missed them on Twitter, please send them through to me either via Twitter or chuck them in the comments section of this once it finishes uploading to YouTube, and I will get your questions across to the developers. We appreciate you tuning in. We hope that you've taken something useful away from this, and we look forward to catching up with you in the very next Developers Podcast, which will be in December. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Everyone.
Bye.